Hi everyone, this is Lorraine. So today I wanted to go over my 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the remainder of my first trimester. I did a video at 5 weeks and I did a video at 8 weeks. And then from there, I didn't do any more updates for a couple reasons. First reason was because at 8 weeks, I started to feel extremely nauseous. Just from the moment I woke up until the time I went to bed, just nausea all day. And it felt really, really bad, and it felt really bad to talk. So that's part of the reason I never wanted to just sit down and film a video, because the times that I felt like talking, I would talk to probably my son and spend that time with him. So it was either I just felt really, really bad, and then I'd be tired in the afternoons, and that's typically when I film my videos because I like the natural light to film videos, so it just never worked out for me. So 9 weeks, really nauseous all day. I don't ever throw up unless I'm really, really sick. I probably haven't thrown up in like 10 years. I can't even make myself throw up. So I haven't even gone to throw up or anything like that, but it just is, it's like I want to, but I can't. So that's how I felt. And then just tired in the afternoons. So when my son takes those naps in the afternoon, it's so nice to just like sit back and relax. So I felt like that pretty much all the way throughout the entire rest of the first trimester. I still, probably with the worst of the nausea, probably 9 through 13. 9 through 13 were probably the worst of the feeling. At about 9 weeks, or actually at 9 weeks, 6 days, I had my first doctor's appointment. A little late for your first doctor's appointment, but with the holidays and everything, it's just when they could take me in. And I went to a new doctor's office, so I had to go in, fill out the paperwork, and went in at this doctor's office. At my previous doctor's office, you peed in a cup and they tested your urine for the protein in your urine, I believe, sugar or protein in your urine, something like that, that shouldn't be there. This place you just pee directly on the stick, so that was a little bit different, but still same concept. So I did that, that's fine. I went in and had my blood pressure taken. I have really normal blood pressure. I have really shortness of breath right now. That's another pregnancy symptom, and dehydration. But I had my blood pressure. I have really normal blood pressure. They asked me a bunch of questions, like just all kinds of medical questions, and you just blah, 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 yes, 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 no, 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 whatever. And then they do an exam. They usually do a pap smear during your first prenatal visit. However, I had my last pap smear in June, so it was unnecessary. They still did a swab of cultures, basically to make sure that I didn't have any sexually transmitted diseases, I believe, which all fine. And then what else? Oh, and then afterwards, the doctor took the little handheld Doppler, which measures the baby's heart rate, or lets you hear the baby's heart rate, and he did that. And you could hear the heart rate. So that's always nice, and it's always like that extra reassurance, so that's really great, especially after you've had a miscarriage. So just that point was good. And then my doctor said to me, after you hear the heartbeat, at this point your chance of having a miscarriage goes down about 20%. So he told me that, which that made me feel really good too. Just like some good information there. And then he just ordered me to have some blood work done, and that was basically it. Oh, they asked me if I wanted to do the first trimester screening test, which is an ultrasound where they do all the measurements of the baby, make sure everything's on track and all that jazz. I said obviously yes, that I want to do that. Not everybody does it. It's kind of an optional ultrasound, especially if you're under a certain age. If you're over a certain age, I know they really recommend doing it, but I did it last time, and it always is nice to have that extra peace of mind, so I went for it. So they told me that the office, it's at a different medical office, and they would call me to make the appointment. So that was basically my first doctor's appointment. Really easy, really liked the guy, so I was happy. I basically just chose him based on like just web search, and I'm like, okay, I'll pick him. I also picked him because the ultrasound place that I went with my previous pregnancy, where they did the first trimester screen and the anatomy scan, are in the same network of doctors, so I thought I'd really like that. So that's where I ended up going for my my first trimester screen and my anatomy test. And then after the appointment, I just basically felt extremely nauseous and everything. It's hard being pregnant the next time around, especially if you have... My first pregnancy, I was just tired all of the time. Just extremely tired, and I'd be nauseous a little bit around the times that I need to eat. This pregnancy, I've just been nauseous all day and then tired in the afternoon, but you fight through the tired with when you have a child that you're constantly watching. But the nausea just doesn't go away unless you're eating, so I try to have little snacks and stuff, and I've probably I've probably gained a bunch of weight, but you know, it is what it is. And then, so basically then a week goes by and I'm walking in the house with my son. We'd been out for the day, and all of a sudden I felt this gush of discharge come out. And I take my son and myself in the bathroom to go to the bathroom, and I look and it's bright red blood. Just bright red blood. And it's just like, I just, in my mind, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having another miscarriage. This really sucks. And that was at 10 weeks, 6 days. I don't know if I mentioned that, but 10 weeks, 6 days, I have this gush of blood. And with my first miscarriage that I had the baby stopped progressing at 10 weeks, 4 days. So I just am like, I'm having another miscarriage. This really is awful. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I've had to go through another 11 weeks and feel horrible, and and then I'm like, and then the first time I went through and I had to have 11 weeks, so I've had 22 weeks where I felt horrible and nothing's come of it, and it's just sad and it sucks. So then I had my son come in with me into my bedroom, and I just turned on the TV and I just laid there for a little bit because I just wanted to see if anything else would come out. And I just keep going into the bathroom and wiping, and there's still red there, but it's not coming out. And then I called my husband and my mom and let them know. And then I ended up calling my doctor's office, and I talked to the nurse and I said, I just had a large gush of bright red blood. I'm afraid that I'm having another miscarriage. And she asked me a couple questions. She said, did you have sex recently? I said, no. Is it accompanied with any cramping? And there really wasn't any cramping. You'd like feel like maybe like a little twinge or something here or there, but no cramping associated with it. So she's like, I know that at my doctor's office, they have an ultrasound person, but they're not in every single day. I think they're only in on Wednesdays, and this was a Tuesday. She said, I know for your own peace of mind, you probably would like to go to an ultrasound today. So I'm going to schedule you an ultrasound. So she ended up scheduling me an ultrasound. It was about noon when I called, or it was 1 o'clock when I called her, because I tried to call them at first, but they were on their lunch break. And at 1 o'clock they were back from their lunch break. So it was 1 o'clock. I talked to her, and she then said, I scheduled an appointment for 3 o'clock. So I had to wait 2 hours. It was a long 2 hours where I just kept going to the bathroom, kind of checking, blah, blah, blah. And then I just kept going back and forth. I'm like, oh man, this really sucks. But I was hopeful because there really wasn't any more blood after that. It was just, that was that. And then you start Googling, you're like, gush of blood. And just, you keep, I don't know, you just have all this time, so you're Googling things and whatnot. But it was a long time. I dropped my son off with my dad, and then I went to my appointment, and it was at an urgent care center, and I went in, I peed And then the woman was like, you're going to have a vaginal ultrasound. I said, okay. So she started performing the vaginal ultrasound and just doing measurements. The screen's tilted so I can kind of see it, but I can't really tell what's going on. There's no sound or anything, so I don't know if there's a heartbeat. I don't know anything. She doesn't say anything. She just keeps taking measurements, and then at one point she just kind of turns the screen more towards her, so I can't see it at all. I can like kind of like glance at it, but really can't see anything. I'm just like, God, that can't be good that she just turned the screen. So she just does that, and she does that for about 30 to 45 minutes, just taking measurements, doing whatever, with this vaginal ultrasound where it's like the one where they go inside and they probe you and just moving it all over, so it's super uncomfortable. Then she's pushing it that way, doesn't say anything. And then she says, okay, I'm done. Your bladder looks full again if you want to use the restroom. So I go and use the restroom. And then I come back, get dressed, and she tells me, I'm going to have this information sent to the radiologist, and you'll hear from your doctor. Your doctor's office will have this information in about an hour. And she's telling me this, and she's walking me, and then all of a sudden I'm to the door with her, and I just walk outside, and I'm like, that really sucks. Like, they don't tell you anything at all. I thought maybe when she was doing it, she said something along the lines of, oh, it's moving a lot now. So, but I didn't know if that was her system, because she had said that her system was going really slow, or if that meant that the baby was moving a lot. I had no idea. But I kind of like was hoping that she meant the baby at that point, but I had no idea. So I walked outside, I called my husband, I'm like, I don't even know what just happened. But luckily my doctor's office called me. At that point it was 4 o'clock. They called me at 5 o'clock. I was a little nervous that I wasn't going to hear from them because it was at the end of the day, and I had no idea. I had no idea if they'd talk to me that day or they'd wait until the next day and call me. I had no idea what was going on. But my doctor's office called me, and the nurse was really nice on the phone, and she said, you still have a viable pregnancy. Like, okay, that's nice to hear. You have a subchorionic hemorrhage. And so what you need to do is you just need to take it easy, and no heavy lifting. And then she asked me if I had my first trimester screen already scheduled, and I told her they hadn't called me yet. So she told me she was going to fax in an order to them to get me in. And that was that, and that was that. So I just I felt a little bit better because the words viable pregnancy sound pretty good. She also told me the baby had a heart rate of 159 and had really good movement, and everything was good there. Then the next morning I get a call from the maternal specialist, the place that does the first trimester screen, and they call me and they say, your doctor wants you to come in today. And that kind of freaked me out, because they didn't say you're going to be doing your screen. They just acted like my doctor wanted me to come in so they could see like the hemorrhage or something. That was what I was thinking in my mind. I'm like, that means it sounds like it's really bad then. So I went that morning, got the blood work that I needed for my my doctor's office, just all my regular blood work. And then I went and had the ultrasound, and I ended up having the first trimester screen is what they did, and they looked at the hemorrhage at the same time. And she told me the baby's heart rate's 159, so same as the previous day. This is nice because at this ultrasound place, the person actually talks to you. Sometimes they're not allowed to talk to you. I think it depends on how high up they are on the scale. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it has something to do with like their level. But she was able to tell me that looks good. I didn't really see the baby moving around all that much, so I don't know. I remember with my son that I felt like he was moving a lot, but I didn't really see the baby move, so I wasn't really sure. And basically she did all the measurements, and hold on. And then she ended up printing pictures for me. This ultrasound though was abdominal, so it was just on the belly, so she didn't have to do it vaginally. I don't know if the other girl had to do it vaginally, but she did. So this is the baby. That's the head, the body. I think that's a little hand up. And I think the hemorrhage is somewhere in this dark area. I'm not 100% sure. It's hard to really tell, but that's where my hemorrhage is. So she printed those for me, and then she led me into a room where I talked to their specialist doctor. And I waited in there, and the doctor came in, and she told me the same thing. She's like, you have a subchorionic hemorrhage, and it's right underneath the baby. So it's like right underneath where I showed you on the picture. And she said that she thought it was probably from like a blood vessel bursting, something like that. But she wanted me to just take it really easy. She didn't want to put me on bed rest, but like a modified bed rest. So she just wanted me to really sit down as much as I could. And it's right before Christmas, so she's like, don't go around doing Christmas shopping or anything like that. Like, don't go to the mall and walk around. You can still move about and everything, but just don't overdo it. Don't exercise, don't lift anything heavy. And then I'm like, well, can I lift my 2-year-old? Because he wants to be lifted a lot. She's like, you can just avoid doing it as much as you can. Which, you know, it's really hard to be even on just modified bed rest when you have a toddler. I can't imagine if I had to be on actual bed rest. It would be so difficult. But that was so difficult. Yeah, so she told me that. And I think that that's basically it. She said the baby looks really healthy, really good. At that point, the day after when I went in for the ultrasound, I wasn't having any more red when I wiped. It was more like a copper color when I wiped. So she said at this point forward, as long as I didn't have any more bright red, and it was fine. And she told me I probably would have more bleeding, but as long as it's not bright red, it's pink, like copper color, brown, it's expected. And that's that. And then she told me to come back in 3 weeks. Basically take it easy for the weekend, no sex. Take it just really easy. And then kind of, I think she basically told me that, and she told me all this other stuff, but when you hear like things are good, you kind of, I don't know, I just was so relieved that I didn't really listen to the rest of the stuff. But she told me basically take it easy for the weekend, and then kind of go on from there. So that was that. She told me take it easy through the weekend, and what I took from that was that she wanted me to take it as easy as possible through the weekend, and still take it easy until my next appointment, but take it more easy that weekend. I don't know, that's what I took from that appointment. It was a Wednesday, so yeah. And yeah, that was basically it. Then I went up to check out, and then I made my appointment for my next ultrasound so they could check the hemorrhage, which was at 14 weeks. So I knew that that appointment was either going to be really good or really bad. I knew that I was going to be out of the first trimester and happy, or it was going to just end badly. So I didn't know. And I also scheduled my appointment for my anatomy scan, which is in February, the beginning of February. And they also made me go get blood work done same day that I had already gone to get blood work done, but they wanted me to get more blood work done. So I went, and I ended up after that going and getting the rest of the blood work that I needed done. And basically after that for 3 weeks, just kind of was a waiting game, like where I just felt horrible. If I walked around too much, my body basically told me I needed to sit down. I could just tell that it was time to sit down. So I just listened to my body in that period of time, like, can Can I walk? Do I need to sit down? I just kind of played it by ear. And then on the Sunday before my appointments, I had sex with my husband. I had sex with him previous to that, but like she said, don't have sex. So I just was like, you know, it was kind of whatever. I'm like, you just have to be gentle. But I had sex with my husband that Sunday. And then Monday morning when I woke up, I had brown spotting. And I took that kind of as a good sign because I thought that it was just more blood coming out, because she told me that blood would come out. Some of it would be reabsorbed into the body, but still I would probably experience more spotting. And I hadn't had any spotting up to that point. The day of my doctor's appointment to then, I had nothing after that. So I had some brown spotting after that, and I kind of felt good about that. I felt like my husband kind of like helped it move out a little bit. Yeah. And then the Monday, that morning, whenever I did have that happen, I did have my next doctor's appointment, my regular doctor's appointment, not the specialist doctor's appointment. So I went into my next doctor's appointment, and it was very typical. I went in, peed on the stick, they took my blood pressure, normal. The doctor came in, he measured the baby's heart rate. He asked me if I wanted to do the Council's test, which tests for all these genetic disorders. I did decide to do that, so I had to spit in a little thing a little bit, and then they send it off, and it tells you whether or not you have genetic disorders, I guess. Pretty neat. And then my doctor kind of scared me because he said, you have a pretty large hemorrhage. And he asked like when my next appointment was, and it was that Wednesday, that was Monday, and it was the next Wednesday. So I kind of was really nervous, but I had heard the heartbeat, so I felt pretty good, like everything was going well. But he said it was a pretty large one. Nobody ever told me like that it was large, small. I had no idea, but if you Google subchorionic hemorrhage, which is the worst thing you can do when anything happens, because the specialist, she seemed like confident that everything was going to be fine. She just seemed like she put me at ease. She's a good doctor. I've went to her a couple times, and she's a good doctor. But she put me really at ease. But so when he told me that it was a pretty big one, I kind of freaked out a little bit. But I knew I had another appointment on Wednesday, so it wasn't that big of a deal. So, if you Google like, and they say large one, there's worse outcome for large ones than there is for small ones. But I don't know how big or how small it was really. So then on Wednesday, I went in for my next appointment at the ultrasound, check the baby, check my hemorrhage, see how it was. And the ultrasound tech, I was going to ask her at that point in time, because I think you can kind of tell if it's a boy or a girl at that point. I was going to ask her, but I was just so nervous, like worried about whether the hemorrhage was still there or not, that I didn't even like say anything. I just sat there like with my breath held, kind of waiting. But the baby, perfectly healthy, measures really good. And the heart rate was 145. And that was basically it. She did some measurements, and then I went in the room, waited for the doctor. Doctor came in, and she told me baby basically doubled in size. Everything looks really good. Oh, they printed out a picture, which I showed on my other channel. There's that baby. Look how nice and round that head is. I just think the head is like such a good head. Son was born, he had a really, really round head, and people would ask me all the time, was he a C-section? But he was born vaginally, but he had just such a good round head. So I don't know, I just really like that. I just thought, oh my gosh, that looks like such a pretty baby in there. But the doctor told me that baby looks good and everything, but there still is basically a bubble in there. Some kind of bubble in there, and it's filled with like blood, old blood, whatever. And where it's placed is good. She drew me a picture. She showed me where the baby is, where like where my cervix is, I think, just like a bunch of different things. And basically if you go on the body, and this is my vagina right here and the baby's up in here, the bubble is right down above here. And it's filled with like the old blood, and it has to come out. Don't know when it's gonna come out. Some of it'll get reabsorbed, whatever, but it's going to come out. Just, you can't really make it come out. It's going to come out on its own, so you don't know when it's going to come out, but it will come out, and as long as it's not coming out bright red, we're good. But she said to expect stuff coming out, clots, not 100% sure what's going to come out, but stuff will come out. So that's basically where I am now. So I'm still a little bit nervous. You always get a little bit nervous when things like bad happen, but still a little bit nervous, but I feel a lot more at ease. I feel really good. I feel really good. All my blood work came back. It was all good. I do have a negative blood type. If the mother has negative blood and the father has positive blood and your baby has positive blood, it has a potential to, if the blood mixes, it can be really bad. It can be really bad. But luckily my husband has a negative blood type and I have a negative blood type, so there's nothing potentially wrong there. But if my baby were to have negative blood, I would have had to have a shot, or a positive blood, because I would have to have a shot of like positive, I don't know what it is, but you have to have a shot if you have negative blood and your spouse has positive blood. I don't know, something along those. So that was the only thing that my doctor's office called me and said, we want you to come in for a shot. And I said, wait, my husband has negative blood too. I don't think I need it. And they're like, well, we need proof. So I had to send in his records, and that was basically it. But all the other blood work came back really good. No Down syndrome, no trism, whatever, found in the blood. They had already counted it out when they looked at the first trimester screen, but they did the blood test as well. And that's basically it. At this point, I'm not gonna really talk about how I'm feeling now, because I will film another video in 2 days for my 15-week update, which I'm excited to do for you all. And people have asked me if I want a boy or a girl. Don't really care as long as it's healthy baby. I've always wanted 2 of the same and 1 different. So I really would be pleased either way. I want 3 babies all together, like potentially in my mind. That's what I really, really want. But I'm thinking this time I feel like awful. Feels completely different pregnancy, so I'm thinking girl, but I don't know. And I want to know now though, because if it's a girl, I'd like to buy clothes. If it's a boy, I'd like to buy clothes too, even though I have a ton, but I'd like to go through all my stuff and see what we have. But I'm excited at this point, so I'm excited to share these videos with you. And I think that's it. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them below, and I'll see you all very soon with another video. Goodbye. Graham, do you want a brother or a sister?
I'm a dad.
That's his response every single time. You're wearing just underwear. You're wearing just underwear. And then, hold on, don't stand on me real quick. When I got this picture, I went over and I got this picture, and then I showed it to my husband. What?
Picture of my friend.
It's a picture of Graham's friend. I pulled this picture out, my ultrasound picture, to show my husband, and my son saw it and he's like, that looks like Graham's friend. Let's see. What do you think?
Nice. Can I try too?
Yeah, you try. Nice. Can I have that back, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I like that picture of my friend.
You like that picture of Graham's friend? Is it a boyfriend or a girlfriend?
A boyfriend.
A boyfriend.